The San Antonio Spurs is put in a very weird situation. In the 2018-2019 season, they only finished the season with the 7th best record in the West, but damn near beat the 2nd seed Denver Nuggets in the playoffs as they pushed them to 7 games and only lost Game 7 by 4 points. They have 2 All-Star level players in LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan, some great role players, and Gregg Popovich, who is one of, if not the greatest coach of all time. The Spurs can't really compete with teams like the Clippers or the Rockets with the roster they have right now. But choosing to blow everything up and start over doesn't really sound like a great idea because star players always prefer big cities like Brooklyn or Los Angeles. What exactly should the Spurs do? One thing I heard a lot of people say is that the Spurs should have immediately started rebuilding after Kawhi Leonard demanded a trade. Tim Duncan passed the torch to Kawhi Leonard before retiring, and he was supposed to move forward with the Spurs together. Kawhi Leonard reminded people of the Spurs in a lot of ways. He didn't want the spotlight, he didn't use social media, but people talk about him every day. He's not the most flashy player on the court, but nobody can overlook his dominance. In the 7 years he spent in San Antonio, Kawhi Leonard went from a defensive specialist to the best two-way player in the league. In 2017, Leonard made the All-NBA first team and the All-NBA defensive first team in the same year and led the Spurs to the Western Conference Finals before going down with an ankle injury. A lot of people believe that trading Kawhi to the Lakers or the Celtics is the best option, but that's not true. The Lakers were only willing to give up Brandon Ingram and 1 first-round pick for Leonard. Take a look at the assets the Pelicans gained in the Anthony Davis trade, and the assets the Spurs would have received by trading Kawhi Leonard. What the Lakers were willing to offer is apparently not enough. The Celtics selected to not make a deal with the Spurs last summer in fear that they could lose both Leonard and Kyrie Irving in free agency. Even if they were inclined to trade for Kawhi, Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart would have been the centerpiece of the package. Can Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart be your franchise player? I'm afraid not. We also have to take Gregg Popovich and LaMarcus Aldridge into consideration. Would Pop be happy being the head coach of a rebuilding team that just lost its superstar? Would Pop be happy with coaching a bad team before announcing retirement? Can Gregg Popovich accept that? I'm afraid not. Then there's LaMarcus Aldridge, who revived his career in the 2017-2018 season when Kawhi got sidelined. In his 3rd season in San Antonio, Aldridge played 75 games and carried the team on his back by averaging 23.1 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 2 assists. Pop handed over the key to the offense to LaMarcus, and being the first option made him feel a lot more comfortable. Should the Spurs trade a player that they just re-signed in the summer? Once again, I'm afraid not. Now let me talk about the upcoming 2019-2020 season and what this could mean for the Spurs. First, I'm going to talk about the 2 All-Stars on the team, DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. DeMar DeRozan, 4-time All-Star and will become a free agent in the summer of 2020. In his first season as a member of the San Antonio Spurs, DeMar DeRozan played really well as he averaged 21.2 points, 6 rebounds, and 6.2 assists in the regular season, and 22 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 4.6 assists in the playoffs. Despite only averaging 21 points last season, DeMar showed us that he is still one of the best ISO scorers in the league. DeRozan's 316 isolation possessions was the 3rd most in the NBA. What's unbelievable was that he was able to maintain a high level of efficiency at such a high volume. DeRozan finished with a points per possession of 1 point, which was ranked 10th out of the 51 players with more than 100 isolation possessions. DeMar was seen by many as a choke artist before getting traded to the Spurs, but last season, Debo redeemed himself by becoming the Spurs' most consistent player in the playoffs.
DeMar shot 48.8% from the field in the first round of the playoffs and led the Spurs in PER, win share, and box plus minus. In Game 6 of the series, DeRozan shot 12 of 15 from the field and prevented the Spurs from getting eliminated. However, there is still this group of people that constantly disrespect and underrate DeRozan. They don't know anything about the Spurs, but they can still sit there and act like they know DeMar really well, which is ridiculous. I'm a fan of Debo, and I'm here to expose the biggest lies told about DeRozan and try to expose some haters that constantly hate on DeMar DeRozan. Lie number 1. DeMar DeRozan is no longer an All-Star. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it because there's no need. Just because DeRozan didn't make the All-Star game in his first season in the Western Conference doesn't mean that he can't be an All-Star in the future. Steph Curry, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson. There are just way too many elite guards in the West. There's no doubt that Debo is still an All-Star caliber player, and I strongly believe that he will be an All-Star next year. Lie number 2. DeMar DeRozan is a quote-unquote bad defender. See, this is something that people that watch the Spurs 3 times a year will say. There's no way you would say some dumb shit like that if you have watched more than 10 Spurs games. DeMar is way more active on the defensive end of the floor, and he's a much better defender than he used to be. He fights over screens, he barely loses focus, he knows when to go for a steal and help. DeMar recorded a career high in blocks last season, as well tied a career high in steals last season. He also posted a career high in deflections. Yes, DeMar still has some problems defensively, but he's far from a bad defender. In my opinion, DeRozan is an average to slightly below average defender. Then there is this group of people that are criticizing DeMar DeRozan for only taking mid-range shots but don't know what exactly happened. I'd like to remind everybody that there is something on the basketball court called restricted area. DeMar is known for mid-range game, but he also excels at getting to the rim and drawing fouls. His 319 shots from inside the restricted area ranked 9th out of all the guards in the NBA last season. Debo shot 60.6% from inside the restricted area, which ranked 2nd out of 50 guards with more than 200 shots inside this range. DeMar only attempted 0.6 threes per game last season, but he makes up for that by averaging nearly 6 free throws per game. With DeJounte Murray coming back from the injury, DeMar will focus more on scoring and defense. DeMar spent the whole summer working on his 3-point shot, and I'm expecting him to average 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists next season. If the Spurs want to be more competitive, DeMar needs to keep improving on the defensive end and be a better mid-range and 3-point shooter. How much progress Debo can make will be a huge factor in the Spurs' success next season. And let's see how well Debo can play. Then let's talk about LaMarcus Aldridge, who took over after Kawhi Leonard get injured and ever since then has been a leader of the Spurs on and off the court. At 34 years old, LaMarcus is still playing at an All-NBA level. Last season, LaMarcus averaged 21.3 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 2.4 assists and gets selected to the All-Star game for the 2nd year in a row. Unlike other centers or power forwards in the league, LaMarcus created most of his shots in the mid-range and painted area and rarely takes a 3-point shot. Only 19 players in the NBA had more than 200 post-up possessions this season. Aldridge's 700 post-up possessions was almost 200 possessions more than the next highest player. His points per possession of 1.039 ranked 2nd out of the 19 players with more than 200 possessions behind only Joel Embiid. LaMarcus Aldridge struggled with putting the ball in the basket in the first 24 games of the regular season. He completely turned the season around in December. From the start of the season through November 30th, he was averaging 17.8 points on 43% from the field and 81.7% from behind the free throw line. In December, he went from averaging 17.8 points on 16.1 shots a game to averaging 22.6 points and 16.4 shots a game. His shooting percentage for the remainder of the regular season were an astounding 50% from the field, 30.3% from beyond the arc, and 85.7% from behind the free throw line. You couldn't really ask for more from LaMarcus because of his age, but I think there's one thing that he can actually work on, his three-point shot. I'm expecting LaMarcus to extend his range beyond the three-point line, and just like DeMar, taking more threes can make the Spurs a bigger threat offensively. This Spurs team needs to accomplish something in the new year. DeJounte Murray, who is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, will return and be their starting point guard. Him and Derek White can be one of the best backcourt duos on the defensive side of the floor. DeMar Carroll signed with the Spurs in the offseason, and he can help the team as a shooter and defender. DeMar DeRozan spent most of the 2018-2019 season playing at the 3 spot, which means he was guarded by bigger, faster players on the offensive end and needed to guard taller players on the other end. With DeMar on the court, DeRozan can spend more time playing at the shooting guard position and doing things he's more comfortable with. Carroll is also a shooter that can give you 2 to 3 3-pointers per game, which means players like LaMarcus Aldridge, Rudy Gay, and DeMar will have more space to operate. This is going to be a make or break season for the San Antonio Spurs. During the season, they will need to decide which player they should keep and which player they should let go. They will need to decide whether they should hit the restart button or not. But now, let's just sit back and relax and see how good this San Antonio Spurs team is going to be in the year of 2020.
So people, this is today's video. Be sure to tell me what do you guys think of the Spurs in the comment section below, and tell me how good you think the Spurs are going to be next season. I'm a fan of the Spurs, and I'm a huge fan of DeMar DeRozan. I made this video to let people know that you can never underrate the Spurs, their coach, and their players. And also, please stop saying that Chris Middleton is better than DeMar DeRozan is. That's some straight BS. That's all I have to say. Hit that like button, subscribe. Basically, it takes you 5 seconds, okay? And that's all I have to say. Wish you guys can have a nice day. And I am out. Peace.